Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Nice to have you
Hi,
here.
Jorj.
I'm just going to take this little thing off here. There we go. Yeah, if you have any questions later on, just put them in the comments and I'll see them, put them up on the board, and Lisa can answer them later on for you. Okay, that would be fantastic. Yeah, good. I just had to mute myself on the other channel here because I was just getting a lot of feedback. Anyway, yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody this evening to, let's see, we've got a few more before Christmas, a few more Wednesday nights. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do anything during the Christmas holiday, but maybe I will. Everybody's home and maybe they're getting bored. Who knows? Or, hey, you know what? Maybe you've got new cameras. Maybe you've got new equipment Santa brought to you and you want to maybe show it off, ask questions about it. Because if I can't help you, there are other people on this channel who come here and they know things that I don't know, and it'll be fantastic if they can answer some questions that I can't answer. And if they can't answer it, we'll find an answer for you. It's that simple. Okay, so I'm just going to wait for a few more people to arrive. We've got a few people here already. I'm just going to add them to my Zoom here. And we've got Gabriel and David. Welcome to the club, or to the chat, I should say. And tonight we're very pleased to have Lisa Connor, who's going to
Hello.
be talking to us about um, wildlife photography and macro photography, two of her specialties. And she'll tell you about how she got involved with that and what her philosophy is on it, what her challenges are, and some of the equipment she uses. And then again, right after she's finished, you're welcome to ask questions. If you're on YouTube, the questions have to oh, welcome, Janet, from Mississauga. I'm glad to have you here again. This was fantastic. And thank you for letting us know you're here and where you're from. So I hope you're going to enjoy this evening as much as I will. Oh, we've got somebody coming in. Oh, wonderful. We have Anka coming in, and I'm just going to add her to the channel here. Just make sure I've got her. Okay, I just had somebody say they won't be able to make it tonight, unfortunately. You know, it's really unfortunate people have to work. Yeah, maybe there's a way of getting around that. Didn't Elon say something about, well, 5 years from now, nobody will have to work, money will be irrelevant? Yeah, didn't he say that? That would be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. I can buy all kinds of camera gear with no money. Hmm. Okay, so yeah. All right. We might as well get started because let's see, I know that it's going to take a little while for um, Lisa to be able to talk to you about what she's doing. For those of you who are on Zoom, again, I'm going to ask that you can use audio to ask your questions. You don't have to use the um, chat or the comments. Wally, Wally's here, Guitar Man, on YouTube. Welcome, Wally. It's nice to have you here. I'm glad you could make it. And let's see, anybody else come in? No. But we have a total of 10 people watching on YouTube, which is kind of nice. I think that that's probably mm, a record high for watching live. It's gone higher afterwards because people, they might be working, then they watch this after. But this is good. I'm really pleased with it. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? Nope, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you that it's going to be Lisa Connor tonight, wildlife and macro photographer extraordinaire. And she and I will be talking at first just a little bit about what she's doing and welcoming Lisa to the chat. And we were talking, Lisa and I were talking a little bit earlier because we are kind of getting everything set up and ready for you guys. But we were talking about possibly another chat with Lisa maybe along the line of one of her specialties. Because when it comes to photography, there's so many things that you can talk about. I mean, if we're going to talk about wildlife and macro tonight, that could be, like a 3 hour conversation if you really wanted it to be. Yeah. So let's see here. Oh, here we go. Hi, Lisa. How are you? Nice to
Hi,
have you
hi,
here.
George. I'm really good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm just great. And I'm so pleased that you're here. I know that you were kind of looking forward to this, and I know there were a lot of people here who were looking forward to it. And okay, so you're going to be telling us a little bit about your wildlife photography, how you got into it, and what
Mhm.
motivated you to go in that direction, because some people go in other directions like, urban photography or portraiture or photography of kids. Although I
Mhm.
know that you have that little thing about kids, and so you do that kind of photography as well.
I do.
So that's fantastic. Oh, Steve is here. So, Steve,
Mhm.
welcome to the club here. I'm just going to add you. Fantastic. Nice to have you, Steve. Love your purple background.
Oh,
Anyway,
hey.
yeah, I was just saying that during the presentation, if you could hold off until Lisa's finished, and then for those people who are on YouTube, if you could, if you have any questions, put them into a chat. And if you're on Zoom, you can do it actually vocally, audio, uh, right here, but let's do it later. And I'm sure Lisa will be happy to answer your questions should you have any. Okay. Or comments, of course. Okay, are you ready, Lisa?
I'm ready.
Okay, so here we go.
So, Segon, hello. My name is Lisa Connor. Um, I am a wife and mother of two young, wonderful boys. I am also a woman of the Upper Mohawk tribe that belongs to Six Nations of the Grand River in Hamilton. And I am a wildlife and macro photographer. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight here on YouTube and on Zoom. I've included my Instagram handles down below there at ymustang5 and my other page that's on_explored, as well as my Flickr account and my email. And I've included this picture of myself here carrying my camera, hugging a tree, because that's what you'll usually find me doing while I'm out hiking or doing anything out in nature. And this is one of the big, beautiful oak trees that we do have along the Niagara Escarpment on the Bruce Trail. So who am I? I'm an avid nature lover, passionate about capturing the beauty and essence of the creatures that surround us in this rich and biodiverse area that I call home, which is Hamilton. Through my camera, I strive to capture and reveal worlds that are often overlooked, to capture the beauty that reminds us how alive, delicate, and complex our environment truly is. So, for my presentation tonight, some of the topics I'll be talking about is the backstory, how I fell in love with nature and got into photography, the cameras that I use and camera gear, old and new, um, my kids and how they tie into my photography, wildlife and bird photography, macro photography, the struggles that I face with this craft, and some of my final thoughts. So where did it all begin? It began quite as a young child. I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and my dad and my mom used to take me camping as an infant up until I was 6 years old. We did camping, hiking, exploring. As you can see in this picture here, I'm on a trail. I do believe that this is West Hawk Lake, Manitoba. My father would show me all kinds of plants. He would show me animals. He took the time to just kind of walk through nature and really enjoy things and pick things out. He showed me anything that he was interested in. And these are really fond memories that I've kind of taken through my life. And I do believe that that's where my original love for nature did come from. And then as an older child, I remember I'm not sure who gave me a camera, but I remember getting a camera as a gift and thinking it was the most wonderful thing ever. Um, I would take pictures of family and friends and pets and my dolls, and It was so nice as a child to be able to use this device and then, take it to the store and then get these pictures back of all of these wonderful things that you enjoyed taking photos of. And most of those photos I have still kept and I still have today, so it's quite nice. I'm sharing this slide. These are some of the cameras that I remember using as a child. The first one there is the Kodak Disc 8000. It came with that floppy disk in the yellow package there. I think there was 15 exposures in it. And then the second one, it was the Kodak Electrolyte 10, 110 millimeter film. These are both from the 80s. They were a lot of fun to use as a kid. And I kind of wish that I still had them. These weren't the originals, but they were similar models that I remember using. So moving ahead from old film cameras, I finally got my first digital camera, and it's the Canon PowerShot S5IS. This camera kind of really excited me again to get me out into nature and start photographing things. It was nice that you didn't have to, take the film to the store and wait for however long it was, 5, 7 days to find out that none of them had turned out. So this was really exciting. And around this time, I started kind of exploring the area, and I'm sharing some of the images here of the waterfalls that we have in the city of Hamilton that I took with this camera. I was trying to find something at the time that I was passionate about. I was hanging around with a friend who was really good at photography, and she was very passionate about it. And, she would capture these images of all kinds of things. And I thought, oh, wow, I really like photography too. Maybe I can kind of chum around with her. So we would go to different places and I would kind of see what she was looking at and see how she would photograph them. So I thought, okay, well, you know what? I've always loved taking pictures of things. I love nature. I love getting out and exploring. So why not just try and see if this is something that I can be passionate about? Um, so here's some of the one of the original like first photos that I took with this camera. The first one there is a butterfly from the Niagara Butterfly Conservancy in Niagara Falls, which was really fun. I've got some tree swallows there on a nesting box, and then I have the moon there with a nice country scene. But it wasn't until I started to see waterfalls. I thought, oh, I wanted to really, really start taking it seriously. I would see these beautiful images of these silky waterfalls, and I thought, how are they taking these? So I thought, okay, I'm gonna upgrade. I'm gonna upgrade my camera, and that's when I bought my first DSLR. It was the Nikon D5300, which I still have. It came with the 28 to 55 millimeter lens, and I got some additional lenses with that. But this was back in 2015, and I thought, okay, I've invested in this camera and these lenses. I'm gonna learn how to use it. Um, yeah, so these were some of the first images that I took of waterfalls. The one down and below there is Letchworth State Park in New York. And another one there is another waterfall from Hamilton. And we do live in the city of waterfalls. So there's lots of different waterfalls here, which I'm very lucky um, because I wanted to learn how to shoot them. So I went out and bought these two books. I still have them. The one is the From Snapshots to Great Shots, and the other one is David Bush. He has some really great books on camera gear. The Compact Guide for the Nikon D5300. And I did read those just to kind of get a baseline of, how this camera was going to work, how I could, use these images, just some of the functions. I watched lots of YouTube videos because they were available, which is really helpful. And that was in the early days when Instagram was kind of, just starting out. I would see wonderful images online and, I would get a lot of inspiration from that social media site. I learned lots about HDR because I was seeing some really cool images of that. I learned the long exposure. and I did play around with some ND filters. But yeah, like I listed there, there was lots of trial and error. That's what I love about photography. You get an idea in your head of what you want to create, and you try and create it, and it's just not right. So you try something different, and you want to learn a little bit more. So yeah, there was a lot of trial and error. And that's another picture of a waterfall up in Owen Sound. It's just amazing the size of that waterfall. Yeah, so I explored and got outside a lot. On my days off from work, I would pick a park. I would kind of go around and look around to see what I could find. I did a lot of local parks. I did a lot of the conservation areas kind of in our area. And, a few hours away in southern Ontario, we started to kind of go a little bit further. But it wasn't until my oldest son was born that I really, really started paying attention to the birds. I started, taking photos of them. I wanted to capture the details. They had so many details, like this cardinal here, that I took a picture of back when I first started in Hendry Valley. But yeah, it's like something. Oh, you saw one and then you wanted to see something else, and you wanted to kind of challenge yourself to get better photos. And at that time, I wanted to get really, really close up photos, all just to see all the details. But yeah, we took our son everywhere, and I'm talking about my husband and I at the time. We would throw him in a backpack. Sometimes it would just be myself and my son. I'd put him in the stroller. I'd always have my camera because we were getting the best of both worlds, kind of being outside and getting fresh air, but at the same time, I was getting my camera fix. So it was really, really great. And because I did it so much, in 2018, when my second son was born, I received a Nikon D850 for a big birthday of mine. So once I got my hands on that, I was like, okay, this is it. Like I really need to know how to use this camera. So yeah, not too long after that, I enrolled in a digital photography one course with Jorj, in order to learn how to shoot my camera manually. That was my goal. I wanted to be able to completely control all of my settings. So I took George's course, and he played a big part in my photography journey. I learned about f-stops and what they meant, shutter speeds, ISOs, exposures, all that stuff. So that was really exciting. I also did get an online mentor for wildlife photography, kind of focusing mainly on birds. He really helped me with editing styles and, different composition, lots of tips. So if there's any advice I can give is to, if there's, something that you want to learn about more, is get a mentor, and be willing to take not criticism, but just be willing to take constructive, yeah, I guess it could be constructive criticism anyways, because it kind of, it makes you better. Don't take it personally, just it just helps you work harder. And social media has been a great way to connect with a bunch of like-minded people. I absolutely love social media for that aspect. I've come in contact with some really, really great photographers. So, yeah, here's a female cardinal from Hendry Valley as well, kind of the partner of the male cardinal from the previous slide. So, kids and photography. If it wasn't for my kids and my family and my husband, I don't think that I would be where I am with my photography journey. I've had some really, really memorable experiences with wildlife and birds, with them being involved. When they were little kids, we would load them into the car and drive around aimlessly down the back roads looking for all kinds of things. We would take them to beaches and forests and gardens. And I shouldn't speak of it in the past tense because we're still doing it today with them. But yeah, many of my images never would have happened without them. I would go out by myself in hopes of, having that quiet, not having to kind of watch to see what they're doing. And I wouldn't see anything. But when I'm with them, we seem to have some really, really great experiences. So in the top picture there, that's my oldest son. We were at a local park and I was showing him how I was trying to get pictures, I think, of the geese that were there. That's always kind of fun when they get down with you and want to see what you're doing. And then the bottom picture was my second, my youngest son. We had him in a backpack. Actually, I was by myself that day and I was out trying to photograph the warblers. Um, so it was just him and I, him in my backpack. Although when I did see a bird, it was kind of hard to keep that camera keep the camera still from him wiggling around on my back. But yeah, it's very important for me to share my journey with them because I do want to inspire them to care for the things that we see in nature. And so, yeah, it's been really good. And I have to thank my husband immensely because sometimes I'll have a really great experience and he'll kind of whisk them away. And then he ends up waiting forever and ever while I take 100 pictures of something. So th these three images I included in here that I took with my family. The first one down at the bottom is the snowy owl. It was the first one that my boys had seen. We were on a walk on, I believe it was New Year's Day, and we just happened to see it on the rocks. Like I said, I always take my camera everywhere I go. If I don't have my camera, yeah, I just feel like I'm missing something. But that was that day. The barred owl on the top there, we were out in Western Ontario, I believe, and that owl actually flew down in front of my husband and my kids, and I didn't see it. They had to call me over, and it just sat maybe 3 feet above the ground and just watched. So that was a really, really great experience for them to, and myself, to witness. And then the fox at the bottom. We were driving around a cemetery, of course, car photography. And my oldest yelled, "Mommy, there's a fox." And I thought, "Oh, I looked over, I didn't see it." So I put my car in reverse. I always keep my camera on my passenger side, and put the window down. And there it was. It was just kind of standing in between the rows of tombstones, which was really great. So these three images, mean a lot because they were, you know, experiences with them. And yeah, I get to kind of keep that, cherish that for forever. So what am I shooting with? I'm still using the Nikon D850. I got it in 2018 and I'm still using it today. I have not had the opportunity to try a mirrorless, so I don't really know what I'm missing. I hear I'm missing a lot, but that's okay, as I love this camera. It's been dropped, it's been dunked in water, it has survived. So I will shoot it until it dies. My go-to lens is the Nikon 200 to 500. Telephoto there at the bottom. I do have the Nikon 500 f4. Don't use very often, but I have it. And I have various other lenses. I kind of keep all of my gear. I don't sell it, I don't get rid of it, just in case maybe one day one of my kids wants to use it. I have a couple tripods and I've underlined a stick here because in the top photo, I was photographing a owl in a tree. The light was really dark. Um, well, it wasn't ideal. It was windy, and I had to kind of compromise with something. So I found a stick and just plopped my camera on it and use that. So yeah, I mean, that's always an option. I don't tend to ever shoot with tripods. I'm mostly handheld for my photography. And sometimes I'll use my husband as a tripod. Whatever works. Elements of photography that I try to follow for myself is just to learn the camera gear, learn your equipment. It's better if you learn what you're using in order to get the images that you're trying to create and practice. Not once a month or twice a month, like get out there and try and do it multiple times a week. It does take some getting used to. And yeah, practice, practice, practice. Explore your areas, see what's out there. There's lots of things. Once you start looking, you start to see more and more, at least in my experience. Observe the subjects. Like if you're observing ducks, like what are they doing? Where do they like to be, for example? Or, if you're looking for like red-tailed hawks or any of those raptors, just watch them, watch and see what they do. Be patient and persistent. Just, yeah, the key thing is just be patient with yourself. It's tricky and it's hard. But yeah, be persistent and most importantly, enjoy your photography and have fun. It's not enjoyable if you're getting frustrated and, putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So just get out and have fun. And where do I shoot? I shoot in this area, the city of Hamilton and the surrounding areas. I frequent Dundas quite a bit because of the conservation areas, but this is where you could find me. Um, and in the city, I mean, Hamilton, city parks are great places for looking for birds or any subject. Cemeteries are probably one of my favorite places. They're quiet. There's not a lot of traffic. As you can see here, I photographed a skunk. It was kind of nosing around the tombstones. And thankfully, I had my telephoto lens because I was able to, get a nice shot of it, but not get too close, as it didn't really notice that I was there. But yeah, cemeteries are great places. The Hamilton Harbor and Lake Ontario are another hot spot for me in the winter because I love the winter waterfowl. Hamilton conservation areas, the Bruce Trail, the Niagara Escarpment, anywhere that you can get out into nature. There tends to be birds or something that you can, take a look at and photograph. And urban wildlife. We live in a big city. There's lots of wildlife around. And why not your own backyard? Just set up some feeders, feed the birds, see who comes. Yeah, just get out and explore. And get to know your subjects. I know I mentioned a little bit about this before, but it's imperative that you kind of learn the species that you want to photograph. I included this picture here. I thought it was kind of funny because it looks like we're having a conversation, getting to know each other. But we were down in Hendry Valley there, and I got out of the truck. I saw the swans further down that little waterway there, and they started coming closer to me. And the adult got out and started nibbling at my camera. But yeah, that was a fun experience. But yeah, it just helps you better predict your subjects, where they might end up, what their behaviors are, how they interact. I put down here, do they prefer a particular perch? Like sometimes kingfishers like to perch on the same kind of branch or stick or whatever. Do they like to dive underwater for food like some of the diver ducks do? Are they more active in the mornings or are they active at nighttime? Do the birds like to kind of hang out low to the ground or do they like to be at the treetops? So yeah, it's just good to get to know your subjects. So my settings, what do I usually shoot with as far as settings go? Manual. I'm always in manual. As far as the autofocus goes, it's autofocus continuous, which is part of Nikon. I'm not sure what Canon is, but yeah, I always have my single point focus because I'm always trying to get the eye in focus. The f-stop is usually wide open, a couple stops down. It just depends on the the subject and the environment or kind of what I'm trying to create. As far as shutter speeds, high for fast moving or bright, slower for more stationary subjects. And I do shoot in manual ISO. I know you can put on automatic ISO, but I just like to have that control just in case there's too much noise. I know there's lots of post-processing that can help that, but and I've included these images of these flying birds down at the bottom because if anybody knows me, knows that I am not very good at birds in flight. I'm better, way better at stationary. So the fact that I got these images, I thought I would include them. So the bottom one on the left-hand side is a ruby-throated hummingbird that I caught at one of our local gardens. We've got the red-tailed hawk here that just took off from one of the branches and was kind of flying towards us a little bit. My kid's in the back of the truck. And the bottom there is a golden-eyed duck that was taking off on the water. Exposure compensation. Um, I always try to expose properly for the whites in birds, like this white-breasted nuthatch here. The other one that I try and do is the bufflehead drake. I'm always trying to just get that white right, just because it's so difficult in post-processing to try and compensate if you overexpose. So what I'll usually do is I'll usually underexpose a little bit intentionally, just so in post-processing I can bring up the shadows and, it's just a lot easier to save an image. And perspective is key. With my photography, I'm always making sure that I'm trying my hardest to get eye level. If it means getting low, if it means kind of getting dirty, I guess. In this picture here, so it's taken a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. But there was a family of muskrats that were coming out of a ice hole here on this lake. Believe this was at Valens. But yeah, they were kind of coming out and eating the vegetation. So I army crawled a little bit onto the ice so I could get a good perspective of them. And yeah, I was really lucky that they were kind of all facing kind of towards me or sideways. I won't often take an image if the subject isn't facing me, and I'm always trying to get that eye sharp. Um, this picture here of a solitary sandpiper, my husband took that picture of me, and I included that in this slide to show you that yeah, if you want to get that perspective, sometimes you just have to get into a very weird, awkward position in mud. We were going out for dinner and I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Of course, I had my camera with me, but we had stopped at a local park to just kind of explore and see what was there. And I happened to see this sandpiper that I've never seen there. So, of course, I had to get that shot. And that me taking that image there is what came out of my camera was that solitary sandpiper eye level shot. So it's kind of fun. Um, yeah, there's a few more here of perspective. So this beaver here we were driving down a dirt road at a campground and came back to this back lake. And I got out and I went to check to see if there was anything around, and I could see this beaver in the water. And I thought, oh, that's such a great shot. I got to see if I can get close to the water, if I can get low enough. And of course, I couldn't because there was lots of brush and bushes. And I thought, okay, well, is it worth getting this? And of course it is. So I kind of slipped into the water a little bit just on the side and rested my camera on, I think there was a branch sticking out of the water, just so I could get that perspective. Yeah, so I had to get into the water for that. And then we've got this ruffed grouse here. We were driving around in the truck and we saw it kind of coming in and out of the bushes. So I snuck out of the truck, kind of laid down on the grass and waited for it to kind of come out in and out. So I was able to get these really low shots, which is always fun. Um, I've got a family of trumpeter swans here and they're babies. My son and I were sitting on one of the boardwalks watching them. And I thought it was really neat that I captured the exact moment where the parents are kind of looking not maybe at each other, but looking towards each other with the baby in the middle. And then the bottom one was a common loon I got from up north last year. I went out on our stand-up paddleboard, and our stand-up paddleboard has whatchamacallit, it has ties on the front. Anyway, so I was able to kind of tuck my camera under the ties and wade out on this. I don't ever stand up on the board with my camera gear. But if you kneel on it and just kind of lay on it, I just kind of waded out, and this loon came over and checked me out. But yeah, that was a really fun experience to kind of be out on the water and get images low with that eye perspective. Backgrounds, I focus on my backgrounds. I'm always trying to see, what if I look through my camera, what am I seeing? So this blue heron is the same blue heron from two different perspectives. So the first one there, I've got it kind of framed with the branches of the dead tree that is sitting on with the Phragmites in the background. And you can see that there's a distance between the subject and the Phragmites, so it gives you that little bit of blurred. And then I think I maybe walked maybe about 30 feet to my left and captured the bird the same way, only shooting into the sticks. So a lot of the times people are looking for clean images or something. So I just wanted to use these two images just to kind of show you the difference. If you see a background that you're not exactly happy with, you can just move over. Or you know what? If you're happy with that, that's great too. But just look to see if your background has any color, if you can just move over and add a little bit of color to it. Is it dark? Is it bright? Um, but yeah, just to adjust your positioning. It's always fun. And it's easy when the subject doesn't want to fly away. It's harder when the birds are obviously kind of moving around and looking for something to eat. So I was lucky with this guy that I could do that. And composition is important. It's hard to learn. It's definitely hard to get in camera. But yeah, you want to arrange your subject within your frame to create a visual, appealing, and impactful image. So with these four images of these birds, I have them not in the center of the frames. They're off to the side. I try and follow the rule of thirds with my photography. And I like to leave a little bit of negative space just to kind of show the environment. Kind of like the little sparrow there. He or she is kind of running into the bush, and you can see where you've got those little branches of the bushes coming out. And the shoveler there, he's up flapping his wings, and you've got that kind of that was late in the evening, so you got the sun setting and the different colors of the rocks that were in the background. And I like to sometimes frame my subjects as the great horned owl in the top. I was shooting through I don't know if it was oak leaves or maple leaves, but just trying to give that foreground blur. And that was really fun to try. But yeah, composition is always fun. But if you don't get it in camera, I mean, it's cool to just kind of do it in post processing. Some more composition images I have is a song sparrow and mugo pine. It's kind of perched up, and then it's the plant is kind of looking down, just giving you that the scale of well the size of the bird, and you get to see his environment as well. This one I captured a couple months ago is the black crown night heron. I thought this was a really neat image. I did edit this image, but I love how he's kind of perched on this dead looking branch, and the branch kind of looks like fingers going down. And I don't normally position my subjects in the center, but for this one, I thought it worked. But and this yellow warbler and gray dogwood was kind of bouncing in and out of the trees, and then it would go into the flowers. So I managed to kind of capture and peeking through the flowers there on the bottom. And then I post process made my composition so he was just kind of down in the bottom there. But that's always fun. Light. There's golden light, there's backlight. You can silhouette your subject like the tree swallow up in the top. Side light, all kinds of different light. I have to be honest, I'm not a really great light shooter. I don't like morning, so I very, very rarely will get up and go for morning light, but I do prefer the evening light, especially this time of year because the light is getting really nice at like 4 p.m., not too late. So yeah, light is always really nice for an image. Um, and this is my favorite waterfowl. I love going out for waterfowl. It's one of the subjects that I will take time to try and get an image. Most of our ducks here are very skittish. So I have a hunting mat that I lay on. It's waterproof, so I can lay on the mud, I can lay on rocks, I can lay on ice and snow. And I have a little camouflage poncho that I just use to kind of cover myself. I lay as low to the water as I possibly can. Sometimes I'll kind of conceal myself in between the rocks. But yeah, I love shooting waterfowl because if you get an image of them, you know that you've tried really hard because they're just so skittish. The long-tailed duck, they are one of my favorites to get. They're diver ducks. So they will, come up to the surface and look around, and the next thing you know, they're diving down again. So you can kind of adjust yourself or adjust your positioning while they're under the water, and then they'll pop back up. The only problem is when they pop back up, you don't know where they are. And if you move too quickly, your camera, they might recognize that you're there and scare them away. But the other duck there is a red-breasted merganser hen. I wasn't sure if I should include this, but this is one of the things that I do use. So this is the Hamilton Harbor. I have a bunch of places that I like to go to photograph wildlife and waterfowl mostly. So I use this app, Photo Pills, and what it does is it tells you where the sun is rising and where the sun is setting. So if you're specifically going for any kind of shot with light, it will help you kind of position yourself um, to, hopefully create one of those images. I've found it very helpful. I've used it a few times, and it's actually really good if you're traveling. If you're going somewhere and you don't know the light direction or you want to just kind of get an idea, then yeah, photo pills is a great thing. And the other thing I do is I pay attention to the wind speed because I like to shoot in the harbor and Lake Ontario. You never know what the water is going to be like, if it's going to be wavy. I like calm waters. So I'll check the wind direction, and I've done it so much now that I know if one of the wind directions coming, let's say across the harbor is, really windy and choppy. Well, I know that the shoreline along Lake Ontario will tend to be calm, or vice versa. But of course, the little icon thing here, I've got wind 2 kilometers. You wouldn't have to worry about that at all. But and a few more ducks. I've got the ring-necked duck drake there with his eye kind of looking at me. I've got the gadwall drake there, a long-tailed duck hen on the bottom corner in between the rocks, and the common merganser hen there with the water droplets coming off her beak. So some of the struggles of wildlife photography that I face, obviously, is uncooperative subjects. There's some birds that can see you driving down the road. They know what you're coming for them and they take off. Weather is obviously a challenge, although I like shooting in different types of weather, like fog or rain. Even snow, if it's just lightly falling, it's lovely. But yeah, those snowstorms, like I'm sitting there, that wasn't very fun. Forgetting your cards or having your batteries die and not having your replacement. Heat distortion is another one that I struggle with in the summer months. Um, you get that heat coming off the ground will sometimes give you fuzzy images. And I've also noticed because I've done a lot of car photography or shooting from my truck or SUV, is that sometimes if you have your hood on your camera, the heat will kind of get into the hood. So when you pop it out of the car, it gives you fuzzy images. So now I turn the heat off, if it's not too cold, and take the hood off. Seems to have worked a lot better. I've missed some really, really great opportunities in photography, with birds because of that. No, it took me a little bit to figure it out. Yeah, other people or dogs, if you're kind of sitting concealed and you next thing you know you have a dog sniffing you, it's kind of startlesome for both you and the dog. Or sometimes they'll scare the wildlife off. I've had it where I haven't had my settings dialed in, where I've gone to take a photo and I haven't prepared for, what could happen, and I've had a photo completely blown out or black. And obviously lightning, if you're out on a sunny day, which is not my favorite for photography, especially for wildlife, or if it's too dark. So those are some of the struggles that I face. I'm sure there's other ones that I just couldn't think of, but so I'll move on to my macro. It has all the same elements as wildlife. Get to know your subjects, have patience, but be persistent, It's a big difference with the depths of field. I found it was really, really hard in the beginning. It still is hard, but in the very beginning, I thought, am I ever going to figure this out? Yeah, learn your subjects. If you're trying to photograph certain insects or butterflies, obviously the flower's not really going to move for you. Um, Light and movement. If you have flash, it's good to learn how to use it. If you don't, that's awesome too. I didn't have flash for a long time. And I learned how to utilize natural light. So yeah, just practice, practice, practice. So the macro equipment that I have, I actually got into macro during COVID because we obviously couldn't go anywhere. I needed to get my photography fix. Um, so I went out and got the Sigma 105 f 2.8. I got that from Bell Art. I had a really good friend there, Dave, who I will shout out, who talked to me about this lens and said how much I would love it, and he was not wrong. I love that lens. I still use it. It's the only macro lens that I've ever used. Um, yeah, so it was great. I could just kind of use it at home. I have a balcony garden. But yeah, originally I wasn't using flash, but the picture there in the front, the foldable diffuser I got off Amazon for like, I think it was $11. And then a friend of mine sold me his Signastech flash diffuser for my flash, which is really great. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed macro. I'm still learning about it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so I've been using it since 2020. And if you don't have a macro lens, it's okay because you can still use your telephoto lens or any other lens. These three images I took with my 200 to 500. Got the monarch on thistle there. I've got I believe that's a carpenter bee, and I don't know what flower that is. I should know that. And shaggy mane fungi that was just kind of up on a walkway that I used my telephoto for. So you don't have to have a macro lens to create macro images. Some of the locations that I'll use is anywhere. Yeah, you can shoot anywhere. Woodlands. I love the forest. I love kind of looking to see what's on those old mossy logs. Gardens. There's lots of gardens in the city. We've got Royal Botanical Gardens. We've got Gage Park. Indoors, sometimes there's some insects in my house that I find your own balcony or your own backyard or your own balcony. For the past few years, I've started to kind of create little garden oasis to bring in insects. So this year I was trying to bring more native plants in, and yeah, it was good. I got some bees and some butterflies and some other things that I didn't really have to leave the house to get. So, and this butterfly here, I took in the middle of winter. So I wanted to use my macro lens, and I ended up going to the Cambridge Butterfly Conservatory for that. So there's all kinds of places that you can go. Some of the subjects that I love to take is insects, predominantly bees. Um, I had a horrible fear of bees until I started doing macro photography, and now I just love them. I can sit with them. It's great. They don't care that you're there. I mean, I don't have my camera right up at them, but close enough that I can get images, and I try not to disturb them. But plants, there's lots of plants. In the spring when they're blooming, in the summer when they're completely in bloom, and when in the fall and winter when they're dying back, like that hydrangea flower there. Yeah, there's so much beauty to be found with the smaller world. Details of larger subjects, um, textures of tree bark, rocks, and sand and whatnot. The bottom left there is a milkweed pod that I took a photo of all the little seeds bunched together. I thought that was really neat to see and to capture close up. And then we've got the milkweed beetle there. Composition is kind of the same as wildlife, for me, anyways. I've got the little bee there sitting on that giant hydrangea flower, but it looks like it's a giant hydrangea flower because the bee is so small. I've been really trying to focus on my images telling a story and showing the environment and kind of incorporating, the plants that makes their world. And plus, it just kind of adds a little bit of depth to your image and it just gives you the size comparison. So a few images of composition. This one here is a jagged ambush bug on Queen's Anne's lace. You can kind of see it. And what they'll do is they'll kind of conceal themselves a little bit. He's not really that concealed, but yeah, so when any kind of visiting insect is coming, it will kind of strike at it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that image there. I've got a bumblebee on a rugosa rose, just kind of doing his thing, gathering some nectar. I've got an ebony jewelweed that's perched on, I'm not sure what plant that is, but you can see that it's hanging out on some plants. I got a tiny jumping spider that was actually on my camera bag. I had my macro lens out at the beach. I don't know what I was taking pictures of, and I went to put it away and I noticed it was sitting on my bag. So thankfully, I had my stuff right there to take a picture and capture it. And then we've got some fungi, some mushrooms on an underside of a branch, I believe. So I just wanted to capture the gills. I like the contrast in colors against the dark wood. Here we've got a cut leaf coneflower. I've been trying to get more into photographing flowers. There's moss. I don't know what kind of moss that is, but I thought it looked really neat. That's my son there holding some crab apples. I took that with my macro lens. And then on the other side, we've got a yellow velvet beetle on uh, Asclepias siraca, and that is common milkweed. Light. So this light, you can use natural light. It's definitely, I found it easier to use than my flash, believe it or not. Um, I like to shoot in overcast weather, mostly because the light is always kind of uniform and there's no like brights or dark areas, and to avoid bright sun or dark shade. However, I've kind of figured out that if it's bright, I'll just use my body as the shade to kind of, cut out that bright light. But there I've got a milkweed flower with the sun setting in the background. That was with no flash. These images, I believe, were with no flash. We got some bird's nest fungi there. Those are really, really tiny. I wish I had something to compare the size to in that image. I've got a hepatica. I'm not sure what kind that is. And then I've got another jagged ambush bug. And flash. Okay, so TTL, through the lens versus manual. Jorj just actually did a really good video on that a couple weeks ago. That kind of helped me. So I shoot manual. I use flash because I find that it will enhance the details in some of the subjects that I'm trying to capture. It will also allow me to narrow my f-stop to widen my depth of field. So usually if I'm using flash, I could shoot from f8 to let's say f14. Whereas if I'm using natural light, for me, I'll tend to use a wider f-stop. So, and the depth of field is so shallow with macro. It takes a lot of getting used to. But the kind of the same thing as wildlife, I'm trying to get the eye of the subject in focus if it's an insect, or any of the area of that I'm trying to get. Sometimes the flash will create a darker background, which I think is kind of cool. And sometimes I can get it not to do that. And I am still learning flash. I am not the greatest at flash, but I just kind of play around with it and see what works. But yeah, it's lots of fun learning how to do that. And this was really fun too. So I had a little bee house on my balcony set up, and I just put my camera on a pillow because I don't use a tripod. I just use a pillow and just kind of set it at the openings there. And you can see the bees kind of coming in and out. Actually, there was only one or two bees. There wasn't a bunch of bees. So I was trying to really capture them sharp coming in and out. So I did put the settings down there because I was kind of curious of what I was using because I was not using a flash. That was just natural light. So yeah, my ISO was 1,000, my speed 1/400 and f8. Struggles with macro are mostly the same. Movements of subjects is really, really tough, especially flying insects. I do a lot of bee photography, and it's a lot of like a lot of trial and error with them. I'm just kind of firing away, especially with my flash. So the Nikon camera, the flash sync only allows you to do one 250th. And of course, bees are so fast that yeah, I'll take a series of images and I might get one that actually works. But weather and wind with macro, wind is always troublesome. Even if there's a light breeze, it just slightly moves your subject. So what I'll try and do is find an area that is kind of out of the wind, whether it's in the trees or behind a building, or, sometimes I'll just kind of use my body to try and block the wind. I always try and make it work. Light near the narrow depth of field, which I've mentioned a few times, and focusing is always hard. I don't manually focus. Sometimes I will. If it's a really, if the if the subject doesn't move, then I will use manual. But I'm mostly on autofocus for my macro. There was something else I was just going to say, and now I completely lost it. So maybe I'll remember it in question period. So some of the programs I use or have used, I use Lightroom 99.9% of the time, if I'm doing any editing. I love Lightroom. I like the flow of Lightroom. Photoshop, I used to use it to clone things out. I try not to do that anymore. I'll just try to incorporate it into the image. If it's there, it's there. In Topaz denoise, I have used for higher noise images that I find that, could do with a little denoise. But like I said, I'm trying to kind of control my ISO to prevent that. But so yeah, just some final thoughts. Ethics, just keep the welfare of your subject your number one priority. Try and get in and get out. Try not to disturb, the subjects as much as possible. It's not always possible, but if you see that you're kind of, you know, making the animal or bird on alert, then yeah, just kind of move on. Be mindful of location sharing when it comes to sensitive species or nesting. We want to protect our ecosystem, so we just plan to stay on marked trails, leave plants and materials where they lie. Pick up garbage if possible. We always bring an extra bag. Sometimes we forget, and yeah, if we do have the bag, we'll pick it up as we go and leave no trace. And mental health is a huge thing. Studies show that, and I should have included the reference for this. But yeah, studies show that spending time in nature is good for your health. Absolutely, it is. Walking through the forest and just being mindful of what you're looking for is so good for you. It's good. It's good for me. I can speak for that. I love it. Photography for me is very meditative, especially if I'm focused on, getting an image or I'm watching. I'll use the waterfowl, for example, because I like to watch them so much. But it doesn't matter how bad my day is or how much, is on my mind. If I get out with my camera, it just kind of all goes away, even just for a little bit. And you're being present and just being mindful. Yeah, and most importantly, have fun while you're doing it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take time to just notice the small things. That's what I'm doing. I'm really trying to focus on paying attention to the small things that are around us. Yeah, and enjoy the beauty of your subjects. So, Naiwa, thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. That was fantastic. I really like that.
Hey,
And there
thank
were
you,
so many
George.
there were so many points in there that I stressed to my students that I'm not even going to go over them again because then we'd be taking up way too much time and I'd be just reiterating what you said. But the important ones that I tell my students is that once you get the basics of your camera operation,
Yeah,
practice,
yeah.
because it's like music. You can't pick up a guitar and play immediately. It's
Hmm.
like music, practice. The more you practice, the more accustomed you become to your camera. And once you kind of got the technical details down, then the creativity can take over a little more. And I think,
Yeah.
that's the way it should work.
Yeah,
But
no, I
that was
think you nailed that
fantastic.
one, George.
Yeah, that was a great presentation. I loved every
Thank
bit of it,
you.
and you hit so many things right on the head. And I think one of the other things that I really liked is that you didn't get overly technical, and you were working with equipment that you've had for a while. Whereas a lot of people say, "Oh, I got to get a new camera because I'll shoot better." No, you won't. That's
Mm-mm.
like, somebody saying to the cook, "Wow, that was a good meal. You must have a great frying pan." No, I'm a good
Yeah.
cook. And same thing with photography. You you know, if push comes to shove, you can still take good photographs, great photographs, even with your iPhone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, I agree
so
with you.
if anybody has any questions, oh, I see David's in here. Oh, thank you, David, for doing that, saying that it's a great presentation.
Thank you, David.
Okay,
Yeah.
now, yeah, David,
I,
Anka, go ahead.
yes, Lisa, thank you very much for your presentation. That was fabulous.
Thanks for being here, Anka.
I was really looking forward to tonight, and your images were absolutely fantastic. I
Thank you.
really enjoyed that, and it was nice because I'm connected to a few local wildlife photographers, but you're someone I've recently met, and
Mhm.
I was really impressed with your photos, and also I wanted to say that I could relate to a lot of your journey because actually my first DSLR was a Nikon D5300,
Oh,
also
no way.
purchased in 2015.
Ah,
The same.
they must have had a deal.
It must have been the popular camera
Hmm.
of the day. And then I also wanted to say that I really liked how you included shots of yourself taking the photos and also how you focus on the eye level. And in fact, I wanted to share. Is it okay if I share a photo, George? Can
Abs
I share?
Absolutely.
Okay, so actually, this is sort of coincidental because I actually just posted this yesterday. Um, so I posted this photo yesterday, but of these geese. Can you see that?
Not yet. Just are you?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
gorgeous.
I think so.
So when I do a post on Facebook, I try to write something that's interesting with it. So with this one, I talked about how when I photograph, things like wildlife in general, but waterfowl, I really like to get down to their level, to sort of eye level, and how I had the camera resting on the shores of the Grand River, in this case, just on the rocks,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is exactly what you talked about and showed about. So I had just been thinking about that yesterday and sort of kind of how you really have to get down to the like right to the level of the water to
Hmm.
kind of capture that. And you do that so beautifully. And that was really impressive with the beaver, actually.
Oh.
Um, because yeah, like, and the thing is that it's kind like what I really liked about your photos is that they're actually fairly simple subjects most of the time.
Hmm.
Like a lot of them were like they were, like for example, a beaver. I see those all the time, but I'm so used to seeing them, I'm not really that impressed with the photos I get of them. And yet with that photo, I mean, it was the perspective and the depth of field that just created an incredible photo. And it was really, I mean, just a beaver eating. But I mean, the fact that you were so low at the water's level made such a
Yeah,
big difference with that photo.
yeah. It was a lot of fun trying to get that. Yeah, if I see an opportunity, I won't miss it. Like even if it's a gull or I don't know, anything simple, a squirrel, I will try and take advantage of it. Yes,
Yes,
it's
no,
fun.
that was beautiful. Well,
Well, that's a
beautiful
beautiful
work.
photo, Anka. And yes, you
Thank you.
rested on a rock. You have to do what you have to do to get it. So I hear
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, that's but that's where I'll often actually use live view on the camera because I don't like I value being having the camera in that position, but I don't always want to be in that position myself and have my eye in the viewfinder.
hmm
So whereas I normally prefer viewfinder, so in those cases I'll often use the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and one
I've
of the things,
used,
interestingly enough, that I just wanted to mention is that if I were doing a lot of overhead or real low photography, I would get a camera that had an articulating screen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Absolutely. That's actually a really big benefit of the articulating screens.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody, any questions? Anything else? Any comments?
I do.
Okay, shoot.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
hi, Gabrielle.
Wonderful presentation. I enjoyed every minute.
Thank
It's
you.
great. You have talent. Was going to ask you first. You should.
Oh, shh, shh. Go ahead, share that. Well, not only that, I think that one of the disadvantages of the mirrorless cameras, I mean, a small advantage is they are just slightly lighter, but the lenses are still heavy. However, what I don't like about them is the electronic viewfinder. I like the optical viewfinder. A digital image. Yeah, digital image. So, yeah.
You said you love manual, so I
I do.
wholeheartedly agree. That's beautiful. Sometimes the birds are too fast, and
Ah,
and you want to gain some speed. So how can you keep it on manual yet do it faster? So I would recommend to test out aperture priority. So you set your, because you said you want it to open up as the
yep.
stop, but you have to match it with the speed. But if you put aperture priority, then the camera will do that for you. Of
My
manual.
my my aperture is always set. It's the speed.
Yeah. So set the
So,
aperture, put the camera into aperture priority, and it will
yep.
the corresponding speed to it. So
Mm,
it will be perfect. Give that a try.
okay.
And once again, thank you for the lovely
Yeah,
presentation.
thank you. Thank you
I
very
think
much.
Okay.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, the Nikon cameras, Lisa, and you guys are
Yeah.
mentioning, are they full frame cameras or are they the other one, the crop sensor, APS-C or whatever they call
it's
it?
it's FX, yes,
Okay,
full frame, yeah.
Mhm.
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
the D5300, my first one was crop sensor. And then yeah, the D700 that I have as well is full frame, and the D850 is a full frame.
Yeah,
But you has the capabilities of having the crop sensor as well, so you
exactly.
can change it.
So before the D700, I had a D200, which was DX, and I never ever bought a DX lens for it. I knew that at the time when I had the D200, I couldn't afford a full frame uh, body. So
Hmm.
what I did is I just kept all my film lenses, which is FX, and then if I bought any new, I bought FX lens because I knew that eventually I will update the D200, the DX to an FX camera, and I did. I went from D200 to D700. So,
There you go.
Great.
so Steve, don't waste your money on DX lenses if you have to.
Oh, I'm a Canon guy.
All right.
Oh, so then Steve, I had mentioned that I shoot with AF autofocus continuous. What is it with Canon?
Okay, yeah, I meant to write it down. I went and grabbed
Uh,
it's servo, is that what it is? Maybe George can help me out with that one. That's a continuous focus on Canon cameras.
It is servo. Let me see if I have something
Yeah,
here.
AI servo, I think.
Yeah. And whether I've got something on that right here. Let's see. Okay, you guys can just keep chatting. I'm going to look in my files for a second and see if I can pull that out.
Okay, normally I have my camera beside me, but I kind of rushed into this. I almost missed tonight.
Oh, I'm glad you made it.
Good presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks. Hope to see you on here sometime too.
Oh,
Talking
me?
about your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I was still trying to think of what I was going to say during my presentation. I thought, oh, I'll talk about it during question period, and I still can't remember what it was. So,
Yes, so we have to do another one then.
yeah, would love that.
Yep. Yeah. That'll have to happen. Absolutely. I think it will anyway. No, the only thing that I've got here right now is the area modes on Canon and Nikon, which is the flexible zone AF expanded AF area and so on. I don't have the actual different focusing modes, so yeah, but I can get that and let you know what it is, Lisa. So you're
Okay.
aware anyway.
Servo AF. I'm
Say
just
again?
Googling it. Servo AF.
Servo AF, yeah.
Yeah, or continuous AF. That's what Dr. Google tells me.
Okay,
Can
well, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you very much for attending. I see Anka had to leave here, or I'm sorry, Anka had to leave, and yeah, I'm glad she was here because you know, she's right into the wildlife and nature photography too, Lisa. So
Mhm.
you have a compatriot there. Thank you very much, Lisa. That was a fantastic presentation. Everybody enjoyed it, and we had quite a few guests on YouTube and quite a few guests here. So, and I'm glad, Gabriel, that you were able to make it. I've missed your input quite a bit from the last time you were here, which was before you went to Hungary again. So, hey, are there photos from Hungary that you can show us next time?
Is there
Yeah, I've iPhone snapshots, right?
is there 3 Hungarians in here now?
Oh,
Well,
I'm on.
what? Yeah,
I
two
don't
of
know if you
us.
remember. You remember I'm Hungarian too, eh?
Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
are.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
Just
We
joking.
won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
Well, I just stick with Canadian. Or I do more in Canada than in Hungary. So
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I am. But I was born there, just like Gabriel. I don't know about you, Steve, but
No, I was born here.
okay. Well, you're
oh,
Canadian for sure.
that's why you're insistent. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to call it a night, and I just want to be sure that if you come in here, make sure on YouTube you leave us a like. And of course, subscribe to the channel, and you'll always be aware of the new things that are coming up. I'll have guest speakers coming in the future, and that's not going to stop. We're here every Wednesday night, 7 to 8. We're a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. Nobody seemed to mind that. And with that, good night, everybody. Have a good
Yeah.
week, and please, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry
you, Jorj.
Christmas. Thanks, George.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Lisa.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.